Hello everybody, I'm Lamont Rucker. Welcome to day 2 of the 2020 Bayou Soul Youth Literacy Conference. Now let's take a look at the Voices Project documentary, featuring the one and only Danny Glover and performances from LSU students.
I was remarkably moved by the work of stories, and I'm reminded of a quote by Eduardo Galeano. What differentiates us between, we all have the same organs, we all have the same bodies and everything that runs into us internally that's make us human beings, but our stories differentiate each other. And our stories are important elements in how we elevate our humanity as well.
Imagine this picture for a moment. Sadly, it's a picture that happens way too often, but flow with me for a minute. It's a great night, you're driving down the street, you're coming from a friend's house, the music is high, you're riding with your dude and you're feeling the vibes from each other, and all of a sudden, you see flashing red lights and the sound of a siren you know all too well. So you pull over to what seems to be a good spot and you just wait for what comes ahead. And then suddenly in your rearview mirror, you see this officer stepping out of his car and approaching you in your car. So you're just calm, hands on the steering wheel, put down your window and you say, "How may I help you, officer?" And he says, "Could you please step out of the car?" And just like that, your great night could go anywhere.
To one of my favorite actors, Danny Glover. I would say Layman Rucker, but my wife liked him, so I gotta be careful. For me, it was kind of overwhelming. When I say overwhelming, is I was only on the job for about a week, right? So imagine coming to a week and seeing some of the legendary actors and actresses who I have admired and watched on television, and certainly seeing Danny Glover when I walked into the room was a big eye-opener for me.
I could literally walk around and look in the eyes and see that they were not only being entertained, they were being inspired, they were being consoled, they were being comforted and encouraged. When all else fails, if you can just hope and believe in something different, better, you'll keep getting up. The day you decide that I can't manage this and it's not gonna get any better, the day hope dies in a person is the day they begin to die.
All you gotta do is pray on just a little while longer, and everything is gonna be alright. Be my woman, girl, I'll be your man. Be my woman, girl, I'll be your man. Stick to the promise, girl, that you made me. Stick to that promise, girl, that you made me. Every day, Sunday, dollar in your hand. Every day, Sunday, dollar in your hand. You wouldn't go get married till I gone free. You wouldn't go get married till I gone free.
Yeah, my grandmother, Imelda, I would spend summers with her. Any chance I could get. I grew up in the projects of New Orleans, and she lived out in the country, and she would come and get me, and I used to run in when I knew she was coming, grab my little Swagman's bag. There was a grocery store called Swagman. They had a brown bag, and I would throw all my clothes in there, and I knew I was going to go with her, and if I didn't, I would fall out crying and screaming because I wanted to go. When I got there, I would notice as I would run around the house, she was always at the table writing, writing books and writing poetry, not with the idea of ever getting published. She would have stacks of manuscripts. And then when I was old enough to understand, I would ask her about them. And she was like, these are some of the things I've gone through in my life during the civil rights time, and how, the information about our family and our background, doing the very things that I'm doing at this conference. When I think about it, she was empowering me, she was instilling in me the importance of who I was, not where I come from, but who I really was. And one day, there was a time when I put pen to paper and something happened. For long, I was writing an autobiography about growing up in New Orleans. And that book, Cheeky, A Child of Desire, was published in 1998. It was my first novel. My grandmother lived long enough to see that book published, and she lived long enough for me to help her publish her book, Soul of a Sister, at 80 years old. So I was able to help her, and she came to the very first BSWLC Youth Literary Conference in New Orleans, and she read from that book, Soul of a Sister. Now that was a highlight of a lifetime that I'll never forget. In 2011, my younger brother was murdered in New Orleans, Sean, and we were very close. It was a tragedy that really struck me really hard. It was a really difficult time. There were so many stories like that. I wanted to make a difference. I just remember feeling like I wanted to do something, make a difference. In his honor, I had to do something. I decided to do the conference, the Bayou Soul. It all came together. I know all these people, so why don't I bring them here to help these kids and in this community? They need that. So it's still hard to talk about. It's still hard to talk about, but that's what the passion for this event comes from.
So I've followed Clarence for many years, since my birth. We're actually family. He saw the need in the community to really make a difference, and make a difference through creativity and writing, and this is how this conference was born, and I'm just so proud of him.
We are a community college, and so if you focus on that, you realize that it takes a lot of unique partnerships to come together to make things happen and have a real impact. Over 95% of our students remain in the Baton Rouge area, so we have a significant impact both socially and economically on this community. And so when we call for support to carry out an event like the Bayou Soul Conference, oftentimes many community organizations, the mayor's office, they're there 100% each time.
Yeah, everybody goes through trials and tribulations, but I think it's a great way using the arts to get it out in writing, whether it be writing or acting, or using it to bring about a certain emotion on the screen. We as humans, that's what make us. It's what makes us stronger.
They have something to say. They have things that they care about. They've experienced a lot.
We had a lot of middle school and high school students here. To have them here on campus being encouraged by stars and authors from across the country to value reading and to value writing gives them a head start.
What we're going to do is continue this conversation.
So today I helped to host and MC the production. Clarence, he called me up, and without hesitation I told him I would love to be part of it. For me, it's kind of a full circle because I was in his class. I was a student for him in 2 semesters. I studied with him, and so for me to be able to come back and to show what BRCC, what the professors here are capable of doing, it was without a doubt that I was like, I'm going to come back and host this thing.
I think this is such a great thing to put on, teaching them the importance of literacy and just bringing awareness to things that are going on in the community. It helps. It lets people know that you're not the only one dealing with this. We deal with it all together. Everywhere, all over the world. And it's great that we can all come together and share that and be able to help each other.
When it comes to traumatic situations, those are things that people don't feel comfortable talking about. They're just like, just keep it between us, or just don't think about it, and it's hard not to think about it when it's
basically resulted in everything else that's accumulated into your life. It's affected every other thing. It's spilled over to every other area of your life, how you love other people, how you have your relationships, how you receive other people, how you trust people, or your lack of being able to do all those things.
So I'm in massive and incredible support of this program because I think you see the results. I mean, you see these boys and girls' eyes light up. You hear the brilliant questions that they have and the input that they have to share and give.
I think it's encouraging them to speak about it, to just get it out in a positive way, in a creative way. So I think it's a good thing that they're doing it.
Our youth of today have their own venue of expression, and I think that this summit is vitally important to giving our young people a platform of expression.
I have a strong passion for writing and all things creative. I try to bring that to the classroom with my students to help bring out their voices. That's a big thing for me, helping students bring out their voices.
Summer of 2016, city of Baton Rouge, we had the fatal shooting of Alton Sterling. We had the ambushment of law enforcement officers. We had a 1,000-year flood event. We were pretty devastated.
That summer, even before the floods, was unbearable, I think, for a lot of people, because things that have sort of festered about race relations in town just came to a head. And none of us, I don't think, knew how to approach that semester until Professor Nero said, hey, what if we did this? What if we told our students that they could tell their stories and that their stories mattered?
That's how we got started with the book Voices from the Bayou, because the students wrote narratives about the trauma they experienced. And with the help of the Baton Rouge Community College Foundation, we were able to publish the student narratives, and the book came out to great success.
These students had these issues, and they were able to express it in writing, okay? And it just brings life.
You see our students went around the country. We've had events here through Arts Fest, and you can see that baby growing legs and taking off and doing its own thing.
I'm all for young people expressing themselves, especially in a way that's that specific, that personal, and that I think that's a healthy way to get these stories and sometimes this angst, this anxiety, this frustration, this anger, this confusion, and at the same time, the love, the hope, the power, the encouragement, all this stuff that's happening, that's really incredible.
You're able to see how writing can be a very cathartic experience, how it can be a very healing experience, and it's a way for someone to have their voice heard in a very positive and productive way, where they can see that their voices have weight, their voices have meaning, and their voices deserve to be heard, because everyone has a story in America, and everyone is deserving of having an audience to appreciate their stories.
So you've got all of this trauma seething just below the surface, and sometimes not so below, but just overt trauma in the community. And the federal government agreed that we were a prime city to receive funding to help develop a program to address that trauma.
Let me tell you, though my grandmother's words were kind and they soothed my pain, the N-word, it stuck with me. And that one event became the foundation for my views on race.
If you ever listen to study monologues from Shakespeare, what he does is he looks at an issue and then during the course of the monologue experiences it from multiple directions. In a way, that's how this piece works, because we're looking at the same issues, but we keep changing where our vantage point and view of it is, and that just makes it even more powerful. You think you know what you feel, and then the next person makes you feel something a little different, and it forces you to create an understanding that maybe you wouldn't have had, not having different vantage points from the same horrific incidents. My name is Vastine Stabler. I'm from LSU Theater. I'm managing artistic director at Swan Palace in LSU Theater. And I'm helping direct this production. We put this together from the book that was made of different experiences during the horrific summer. It began with Alton Sterling's death and led to the shootings of several policemen, and then the flood, which in many ways helped bring us back together after that terrible summer.
Yeah, I think you're on the way. I think you see it. I think every time you go through it, you find more of those things.
Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait to see the stage play. It's really been, the culmination of the original vision of the collection, Voice from the Bayou, and can't wait to see that transform into another genre of drama.
The same city that is crowded during home games at LSU with people from all over the world. My city, since 2012, a city that I've grown to love. What has happened?
When we made it to Baton Rouge, people were calling us refugees. Can you believe that? They were calling us refugees. Now, all of us were born and raised right here. We are citizens of the United States of America, but they called us refugees. Yes, indeed. Too cheeky.
The production is personal. Stories, narratives. It's not foreign, it's not them, they. It's me, us. It's personal, so it's not difficult for each individual in the audience to relate.
Really powerful to see this book come off the page and into, full dimension, and watching these young people tell these stories and give these various perspectives on what their lives have been like going through some of the trials and tribulations and triumphs.
To see it reimagined as a play and to see that literally take shape and motion, I've got a couple degrees in words, but I don't really have words for that. It was amazing.
It wasn't just one group of people that experienced 2016. It was multiple groups of people, multiple cultures, multiple backgrounds. It was so many of us that experienced that, and I think that's what helped us make it through. So when you come back to this, you see those different faces, and you see the diversity and all the people that it has drawn. It goes to show you how important and how impactful this piece is.
Look at the energy around these young people. Look at how they can connect better with our teenagers, with our preteens, even with our even younger children.
There's so much division in America, so much talk about hate and division. So this is an opportunity, this play brings us together. That's the goal.
The title of it is Voices, and to see that those voices go from the written page to actually being spoken voices is it's just really been a remarkable experience.
For me, one of the most powerful things to be a part of is the empowerment of our students and the ability of both the Voices written project and then through Bayou Soul, the stage production, to give their experience the form of art.
And we had Toya Wright and her mom, Miss Anita Johnson, who's on a very popular reality show called T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle on VH1, and they decided to come to the event. So there was a lot of buzz building into it, and then you had Lance Gross, who's been on Star on Empire, and he's also been in Tyler Perry movies, played Kelvin on The House of Pain, you hear he's coming, and then you got Lamont Rucker starring in our play, Voices from the Bayou. We had a little girl, Sky Turner. She did a beautiful song called Imagine. She's actually known as the Patti LaBelle singer in social media because she appeared on Steve Harvey singing the song If by Patti LaBelle, If Only You Knew. Matter of fact, her video went viral from her performance here. But then to top it all off, 2 days before the conference, we get a call from none other than Danny Glover. And that just took it over the top at that point. And we were very fortunate and blessed to have him. So for me, to see an event that I started 7 years ago where I was doing it out of my own pocket, it's a great feeling. It was definitely a great feeling. And to have Mr. Danny Glover walk through that door and sit in the first row and give a standing ovation to acknowledge the play and acknowledge what we were doing and give that pat on the back, that meant everything to me.
What are the strategies that can be implemented to overcome that trauma?
When you have a group of people unified around a common purpose who choose to be involved in being the solution to the problem, there really is no stopping what the possibilities are. And so we have had just a tremendous outpouring of support, and we are beginning to see the effects of the work that we're doing.
I want them to know that as young people, they don't have to be silent on things that matter. And we know that there are real things that they're dealing with. And I want them to walk away knowing that they have a voice and a platform that they can use to address that.
The good thing about this is that not only are they afforded a platform of expression, but people are listening to their words and what they're communicating.
I expect it to grow. I mean, I think there'll be more students. And how exciting is that to see young people run into a literary event, not a rap concert, but a literary event. That's what my dream was.
And yes, we want to continue to be a part of it, and we want it to help our entire parish. We believe in this area. We believe this is home. Who doesn't want to make home better? Right? This is home.
Then I can grab your temperature while you're doing that. And what's your name? I'm sorry.
Clarence, it's a big day. It's the first day of shooting. What are you feeling? What's it like actually seeing this starting to come together?
It feels great. When I was driving up this morning, I saw the camera crew. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is really happening. You know what I mean? It feels good. It's a nervous but exciting feeling to actually see this come alive. It's a dream. It's like I'm still pinching myself. Like, this is real.
Scene 4, Brandon Zoom, take 1.
Rolling.
Action.
I'm Willie Burton. I'm the director of Voices from the Bayou. My career spans over 4 decades. I'm a production sound mixer by trade. That's my main career. And I've been very fortunate, very successful. and I've done some great projects. I've just had an amazing career. I'm a blessed man. I'm very blessed and appreciative and very grateful for how life has been for me. Well, Clarence and I have known each other since 1998, and when when BRCC wanted to do this project, he contacted me and said, Willie, I want you involved, and I want you to produce it, I want you to direct it, and so here I am. And I love doing things like this. I like making films. I like working with young people just to teach them and show them the way and assist them in getting to where they want to get. You can go to school, and which is good, which is a basic foundation, but the best thing is being on the set. You learn on the set, you learn how it's done, you learn the protocol, and it's just great. I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, you work with a professional, like here on this project. We have professional people, and they're all good at what they do, and it's the best place ever to learn.
I'm Derez Douglas. I'm a co-producer on the project, Voices from the Bayou. Voices of the Bayou is based on the experiences that happened in Baton Rouge. And it was a bunch of students from Baton Rouge Community College got together and decided to write essays about what they had been going through. And some of them had experienced police brutality. In some cases, it was racism. And then the flood, of course, of 2016. And so they wanted to get their feelings out about it. And so they went ahead and did these essays. It was turned into a book. And then it was done as a play. And now we're doing it as a movie. And it's so exciting to see it coming together. I think especially now with COVID, of course, I think it's needed that people can see things from different points of view, and that we can see that even though we're different in some ways, we're really more alike than we are different. And I think that's what this is showing us in this film because of our mix of students from different races. And they're all talking about what they each have gone through and what they've witnessed and what their lives are like. And I think as they share their stories, then we start to see our commonality and start to see that some of the same things that happen to other people may not be exactly what happened to us, but the emotion is the same. And I think in talking about it, it helps the healing process.
My name is Logan Shoemaker. I go to BRCC and majoring in entertainment technologies. I want to go into the field of film. I am at the production for Voices on the Bayou to help with production on anything that they need help with. Being at productions like this gives you the experience and the networking that you need for later on in the industry. So if you need help with anything, obviously you got teachers and you got production experience.
My name is Charlene Pate and I go to BRCC. I am majoring in entertainment technologies. The experience is great, and just to be in the environment is motivating. In film, everybody gets to see things from a different perspective, and they also get to kind of empathize with the other side as well. I think it's important just because everybody has that in common. Everybody watch movies. That way you get to see things from every side, every angle.
My name's Kiera Augustus. I go to BRCC and I am studying film. I am on the set of Voices of the Bayous in New Roads, Louisiana, and I am here to help out to watch the production happen. Film, to me, film opens the mind. In a sense, it's like when you're watching it, you're putting yourself into somebody else's perspective, into somebody else's life. So, of course, with this being about race and just changing the world, of course, if somebody watch it, I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to have that same experience.
I'm Samantha Winter. I'm the first AD. I'm the person who says quiet on set and roll sound, roll camera. Why I love my job is that I coordinate communication between people on set. I work with a lot of film students when I AD as PAs. One, they're the best PAs because they're so excited. They find their niche because until you get somewhere, I feel like you don't really know your niche. Like you can read it in a book and you can kind of do the film school sets, but until you get on a real set, then you're like, that department, that's what I want. And I see that light bulb go off for so many PAs. It's taught and you learn it the best you can, just like I assume nursing or doctoring. Until you get there and you really have the hands-on, there's so much that's learned in the field. It's just exponentially important.
I'm loving being on set. Just being able to see behind the scenes and what everyone does is amazing. With how much coordination has to be intact, like being on time, getting everything done on time.
Being on set for the past 2 days, I've learned to appreciate just being in the moment, really, because it's so much stuff going on. So you have to hear for when somebody's calling either on the walkie or just in person, and just have to run and go get it and come back. Being able to experience this is really, I'm really lucky. I'm excited.
And that is a picture wrap on Brandon.
I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the courage and resilience of our BRCC students in this time of 2 pandemics, COVID and racism. And now joining us to share some thoughts of her own, SGA President Tara Mitchell.
Hello, my name is Tara Mitchell, and I am Baton Rouge Community College's Student Government Association President. So in so many words, Steve, I serve as the advocacy, as the sole leader of the student body, and I also have 6 other amazing cabinet members up under me, and it consists of a vice president, treasurer, parliamentarian, historian, and a secretary, and I also have a senate body. So this is actually, I'm going at it for my 2nd degree. I completed the technical program up in 2017. I graduated with 4.0 chancellor's honors from the culinary program. And upon graduating, this is a crazy thing, a month later, I was enrolled again, seeking another degree up in business administration with a concentration of entrepreneurship and management, so I will be graduating with 2 degrees this time. When we were actually going through the pandemic, I was actually the SGA president at that time too. So when we were told that, we were told by our supervisors that we had to leave campus by 12, I was kind of upset because I'm like, how am I going to be an effective student leader? How are we as an organization going to lead effectively if we're not actually in contact with our students? I was thinking as a student leader, how are we going to lead effectively? How am I going to lead effectively if we're not in contact with our students? Because it was different. They were able to come into the office and be face to face with us, ask us questions. I was easily able to go to the dean's office and bring a student and see, look like, Dean, look, this student got this going on and I can't help them, so what can you do? So now that we have to do everything via email and phone call, it's kind of hard to contact people, but I must say that since that, I have gotten more adjusted, so it's easier for me now to plan virtual events, to host Zoom meetings, to facilitate student development panels in this capacity because now I'm used to it. So the main thing that's going to be for us is transitioning back on campus, and how is that going to affect us, because now I've come so adjusted to being at home. So now whenever the spring comes, possibility, I'm going to have to start getting back up and coming back and having face-to-face interaction with our students, and I'm kind of excited about that. But all I can say is it's not impossible. It's just all in a matter of managing your time and how you're going to get it done. It's important. It's important and extremely significant right now for us to learn how to tell our stories of pain through writing. And there's no better experience to get that than to attend Mr. Nero's Bayou Soul Literacy Conference Fair. And it's extremely important because I know since the pandemic has hit, I've even improved my writing skills, telling certain feelings I was having, certain anxieties, and I took those negatives and turned them into positives, and I put it on paper. The best advice that I can give students, especially those who are not on campus right now and are having certain anxieties or afraid, just take it one day at a time. It gets better. I can give you some advice on things that you can do to maybe help encourage you to finish your assignments. You get up early. I get up early. Take a shower. Put on you some clothes like you're actually going to the school, and you feel better. Find you a nice place in your home with no distractions, and just get there, sit there, and study and get your work done. And also try to have a support system. Hook up with some peers. I know I have to call some classmates sometime, be like, hello, look, today how you doing with assignments? You know, I need a little help, you know, because sometimes it can get overwhelming, especially if you have a lot of things on your plate, because I also have many other roles I serve. So it's just all in the point of learning how to manage your time, and I promise you it'll get better.
Hello, BSWLC. As we discussed on our last panel, the subject of checking in to our spiritual and mental health and wellness in the age of COVID and inequality, we are now ready for our second discussion for our part 2 of our panel discussion. This is Pastor Nichols. Enjoy and engage.
There is a communal response to trauma, and we just so happen to have with us today on this panel Pat McAllister LaDuff, who is a community activist and leader. As a matter of fact, she is the co-founder of CADAV here in Baton Rouge. It is the Community Against Drugs and Violence. It's located in the North Baton Rouge area, and there are myths and stereotypes associated even demographically, or I should say geographically, with that area. And we want to address this issue, just continuing the conversation to Mrs. LaDuff. As a community leader, how do you respond to a situation where you see our own citizens, sisters, brothers, family, friends, community members addressing or engaging in activities that result in trauma? How do you deal with the trauma that emanates from, let's say, drug misuse or abuse, violence, black on black crime that wants to be, even though we know that it exists in every community? Let's just focus on us this afternoon. And that is often associated with the poverty and lack that permeates communities of color in particular. How do we deal with trauma, which is exacerbated by a system that would allow more severe punishment for black on black crime than white on black crime, to be very direct and candid in my speech? How do we respond to that?
I tell you, that's a tough one.
Yes, ma'am. I know.
I've ran 2 nonprofits now, 27 years with Scotlandville CDC, and then 28 years with CADAV. And that's how we got started, Community Against Drug and Violence, because of the black on black. It was at that time when we got started in '93, it was actually not the police officers coming in. It was actually us hurting us. And so, but through the years working with the families, not to blame or use an excuse, but it comes from a sense of oppression and being without. And this young man talked about the myth of black men not wanting to take care of their families.
Yes.
That's a pressure in itself. They want to take care of their families. The females get hired and they get to stay home. That's a system issue, okay? Lots of times they are qualified, but if you need to meet status in your corporate life, then you hire the black female, and then you get the black and you get the female. And so, and then
you check 2 boxes.
You check 2 boxes.
Gender and race.
That's exactly right. And then not having what you needed, you know, that father figure, that person to support you. You could stem this all the way back to slavery. It's just a sense of oppression. And then you have the salaries that are being made. You know, we don't increase the amount that they're paid. The families, our families in general. So we're going to have the restaurant jobs, and we're going to have the jobs, low-paying jobs. Okay. So minimum wage is.
And we're going to have another discussion. I'm sure Professor Nero is going to continue to convene us in various discussions. But not only have you checked 2 boxes for one,
yes,
then we know that research is beginning to admit that black female is making what, 68% of what her white male counterpart is making?
That's a whole nother issue.
A whole nother story.
You know, that's a whole nother story.
We'll talk about that one
we
another
actually
day.
follow the Alice research, and the Alice research shows right now Louisiana is 50%, you know, at poverty. You know, and so therefore, the national poverty, it says that you're good. But it's saying that you're good in a place that we're not good. So I am making the money, but at the same time, I can't take care of my just routine needs. I can't provide food and housing and health care. And now we have the technology component with Wi-Fi for our children. I don't get to stay home. So all of these pressures to bring you back to where we started with the question, not to make excuse, but when you don't have a playing field from the beginning, and you come out of the gate behind, those type of pressures, you are working with people and living with people, and so when things escalate, they happen to escalate with the people that you're with.
Yes.
And I don't think it's so much intentionally doing a black on black crime. Black is who I'm with at this time. And so because of the pressures, you not being able to pay your bills, and you're not being able to keep a roof over your family's head. So all of that is pressure.
It is.
And so then you have child abuse is up. You have domestic violence that's up. And all of that is looked upon as black against black. But that's where you are.
Without looking at the root causes. Because
Without
what I'm
looking at
hearing
the
you
root
say
cause.
is, when my response to trauma erupts,
yes,
it's going to spill over on those closest to me.
Yes.
And so the closest person that I lash out against is right there in my own family.
Or in my
own
neighborhood.
community, in my
Yes.
own place.
That's right.
And more often than not, in those communities of color, there are fewer resources, fewer avenues of help, and fewer opportunities to get the mental health services, especially when it's stigmatized.
And
Yes.
even with the resources that are available, the hoops that you have to jump through, you know, we call it the whack. You know, you're having to go through too much to get something done. You're already stressed.
Right.
You know, why can't I just get into the system? And once I'm in the system, all the resources that are available, then you actually coordinate those resources for that particular family so that you can sustain the family and give them a good foundation so that they can move forward. Every family, I have not met a family that did not want to take care of their children.
Yeah,
they did not want the best for their children. You know, they did not want a good job and a nice house and a nice neighborhood. I have not met that family who said, I don't want that.
Right. We want to acknowledge the work that you've been doing for what, 27 years
28
now?
years, yes.
28 in the
28
community.
years, yes.
We so appreciate it. It is so necessary, and it continues to be necessary. We have with us today Mrs. Latasha Johnson, a business owner, a hairstylist, the mother of 3 beautiful daughters, married to Walter Johnson, and we know that Walter Johnson is the brother of a reality star, Toya Wright, and he has written a book
where he chronicles his struggles of being a black man in America. That book is Lions and Legends. He's currently serving time, and she shares her pain as being married to someone incarcerated and how the system has treated her husband. We know, Ms. Johnson, you're not alone, you know, right? You represent thousands of women across America. Share with us how your experience has, I want to say, probably added to the trauma that you've had to navigate in your life.
Well, first off, I would like to say I tip my hat off to any woman that has survived having a husband incarcerated, because for me, the past 5 years has been quite a roller coaster, which it still is, because my husband is still fighting a case that he did beat, not once but twice, but they have been appealing it over and over again, wasting taxpayers' money.
The state.
Yes. So we're still dealing with that situation, but for a wife, a mother, a woman, it's a lot, because when he left, I had to step up to the plate, and now I wear the dress and the pants. So instead of just being a partner, now I'm doing everything on my own, you know, with him having the status that he had from being on a reality show, both of us, I tried my best to protect my 3 girls from society, because I know how society is. They can be such a, you know, cruel, which I did a great job at it, until one day my daughter came home and was like, okay, Mama, where's Walter? Because something's not right. Everybody's on the bus saying, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that and stuff. And it just hurted me to know that I tried my best, you know, to make the situation as easy on them as possible, which would have made it easy on me. But in return, you know, it's still good, but it's just like a day-to-day struggle, you know, that I deal with, especially with him losing 2 of his brothers. So that was like a whole nother incident on top of one, with, like they say, with the black on black crime that we face every day in our own community, and just wanting better for my kids, you know, and just wanting better for him as a person. So I feel like, as a woman, a black woman, having to deal with such an intense situation, you definitely got to be, you know, in your life. And I'm not perfect by far, but I definitely know that I want, you know, to make my marriage work, which we already know that in our black society, we face just trauma and struggles with just being married alone, just let alone being in a position where your other partner is not even present, you know? So it makes it even more complex. But I actually had a friend of mine that she has overcome the situation of her husband, and it gave me hope, you know, to be like, okay, well, maybe I can get through this, because my husband still has, like I said, the situation going on with the state, where they're just not letting up on him for nothing. I don't know what it is. I know what it is. And it's messed up that he's a very intelligent guy. Even though he's in there, the things that he's writing to them, emailing to them, you know, of course, on my behalf, even with him helping his lawyer to fight, he won the case. And it's just like, they just don't want to give up. You know, it really hurts me as a person, let alone being his wife, to know that this is something that you get into so easy and then find yourself like it's never ending, you know? And our system is definitely, you know, messed up. Even with the COVID I had, I caught the COVID actually in the beginning when it came out, and just him not being able to, you know, make phone calls to me like he wanted to, you know, because now they're putting them on lockdown and they still have loved ones. So, you know, it just, to me, I feel like the system has stripped away so much of their freedom. I understand, you know, whatever it is that they're fighting against, or the crime that they committed, but still give them some form of love and hope, you know, because what if anything was to happen to me, he wouldn't even know, because they really had him to where he barely was able to use the phone. Wow. So I did overcome it, and everything was fine, thank God. But then when I got well, he wound up having signs of, you know, the COVID, and it was like, it bothered me, because I know that they're not going to give them the things that they needed. So I even tried to reach out to the warden and the receptionist to see if I was able to donate masks for his dorm, just so I can make sure that not only him, but everybody that's in there, you know, will be okay. Because when you think about it, if we all in the same room for forever, even if she gets over it, I have it, and then I'm gonna be able to give it back to her. So it's like it's not gonna be a never-ending situation for them. But you wouldn't believe that they denied me donating masks, you know. So I just know that the system is just like so not for us, you know.
So what reason could they have given you for denying you a donation of PPE? Help me understand
They
that.
really couldn't give me like a straight on thing, but I know that they already had the issue, like say with the books. If you wanted to send books, you have to go through a specific company like Amazon. I couldn't just go and buy a book and say I want to send it. I have no idea what the difference is, but I know it was a big difference. So they was kind of leaning toward the same thing, like, we were not able to really receive masks. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm just trying to, better the situation, because I know eventually it was going to get worse. And sure enough, he called me and he told me that he had signs of the same symptoms that I had, the no taste, the no smell. And I was like, yeah, you have it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And so as you move forward, any immediate plans on how to continue, or is this just we have to wait and see what the appeal process reveals?
It's kind of like a wait and see. To be honest, it's like they really don't even have the grounds. The judge actually awarded the second go round for Walter's release of termination, because the prosecutors, like he was saying, they were black. And it was very surprising to me when I walked in again that he was so adamant on, we got to do something with him, give him 20 years, give him 15 years. And I'm sitting here like, first of all, you wasn't even a part of the whole 4-year journey. And because the judge and one of the DAs had differences, they put the black guy in, which had no knowledge of Walter's case. And now he's pretending to be, like, I have to make sure something happens with Walter. You have to get some type of time. We got to do something, And I'm sitting there like, well, how could he even, first of all, no matter what color you are, how could you put that type of punishment or thought into something that you don't have no knowledge of? He literally just rolled in the next day, right before trial, didn't have nothing prepared and situated, and it just really showed me how our system is just not even set up fair at all for nobody, but let alone the black man.
Amazing. As we continue to go through the processes we go through in America as people of color, the descendants of slaves primarily, and we hear people talk about the experiences of all immigrant individuals who have started in this nation, there is a distinction between what the African American experience has been in this nation than others. And it shows up in the legal system, it shows up in commerce, it shows up in property ownership, it shows up in every imaginable way. But the way that it shows up that creates that unspoken trauma is this myth of danger, having to be afraid of who black folk are. We have with us Mr. Hilton Webb, a business owner, an entrepreneur who owns multiple trucks in a business, a spiritual teacher, a leader in his church, someone who shares his faith, his testimony. He is from Dallas, but originally from New Orleans, so he has experienced major American cities. And yet, Hilton, you epitomize the image of the, okay, so I'm gonna use this expression, that dangerous Negro. Tell us about your experience with inequality and the trauma that has been ignited thereby in your life experience.
Well, first of all, let me say once again, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Absolutely.
The 4th year with
Thank
Bayou
you.
Soul. I'm grateful to be here once again. My brother Clarence always seemed fit to make sure I'm on panel to speak of my testimony. But the dangerous part of that, what you asked Dr. Plummer was a great question. Coming through the woes of the 9th Ward, born and raised in the Desire Project, seeing the turmoil, what was around me of the violence, black on black, whatnot, and be able to have a resolve to not quit because of my environment.
Yes.
and able to sustain my successful mindset, because the victory is in the mind. And it's amazing when you say dangerous, because when people see me, they would never know who I am or what I am.
That's right.
When people see me, they never know that I was incarcerated for 3 years. They would never know unless I spoke of it, because I was a victim of the system because of what someone said and thought about me. But I still managed to be able to become successful because I knew how to survive the pandemic.
Because you overcame
Yes.
the pandemic.
So when it comes to equality, I always encourage people to say, and be an instrument of integrity, because I knew how to survive. Because the street taught me how to survive, but I wasn't a victim of what the street was.
Wow.
So dangerous is me, that man, when someone sees me, like, I'm going to clinch my personal title, but I'm the same man that has the heart to help you to get to the next level.
Yes.
So when you say dangerous, I'm the man that pull up on the scene and you be intimidated by the cost of who I am, but not knowing whose I am. So when you say dangerous is being intimidated by my presence when I have not spoken one word to you, but it affects and you're intimidated by who I am. And it shouldn't be because of who I am as it pertains to color. Because if someone pulled up and there was a certain particular kind of way, give you an instrument. A couple of days ago, I'm on set with my brother. I just pull up. 3 officers. One asked me, "Are you an actor?" My response was, "If you're paying me, sir, yes, I will be." Wasn't being funny. But I guess he saw, first and foremost, the car I drove. BMW. He's too intelligent of this skin color to drive and such. Secondly, he's seen the license plate. Texas. Conduit, 4920. That's the conduit for the narcotics. Give you a little history. Wow. The guy that's integrating me, and I guess trying to integrate me about who I am, I see on his shirt, narcotics. So I asked him a question. I said, "Well, why are you asking me these questions, officer? I see on your shirt that you're a narcotics officer." He said, "Yes, I'm DEA. I just want to know what kind of work you do." I said, "Well, sir, if you must know," I answered intelligently. I said, "I'm a business owner. I own 2 trucks. I said, "I've been in business 19 years. I said, "Very successful." So he began to look at my facade of who I was. He saw jewelry, maybe saw a hat on my head. Because his facade of what he sees with, you're not supposed to pull in this kind of car, dress the way you are, and be a business owner.
You must be a drug dealer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So my response when Lamar Rucker said how you respond, it dictates someone's actions.
Yes.
When I responded, he said, and walked away.
Yes.
Because even though you may not think I have integrity or intelligence, I can show otherwise.
I have both.
Absolutely.
Yes. How does it feel when you know people possess these assumptions or presumptions about who you are simply by how you look rather than even taking the time? The officer asks certain questions, but what about that individual who doesn't even take the time to ask the question, but you can see in the way that unspoken body language that they've made certain assumptions about who you are? How does that make you feel?
It's trauma. The reason why I say it's trauma is because, I'll just give you transparency. I hopped in my car, left the set. Now we in New Roads, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Dark road. Now, of course, I got LED lights and I can see real fine. But I can tell you how many times I checked that rearview mirror.
Oh, wow.
At least 17 or 20 before I got back to 10.
Wow.
Not because I'm illegal. It's because the trauma of you asking me a certain question may dictate your actions.
Yes.
And I have to be mindful of your actions because your actions gonna dictate my life. And I have to be very careful, even though I'm just driving back to my hotel.
So the result of you doing a good deed to support your brother.
Yes.
Not a friend, your family, your
Yes.
brother.
Absolutely.
Put you in a position of being traumatized.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yes.
Amazing. You know, Miss Ashley, don't think that we weren't going to come. We saved you as the last panelist for a reason. And for those that we've not introduced her to, Ashley Shift is an entrepreneur herself, a motivational speaker, a mathematician, a philanthropist, and she authored Get What You Want. And that's where we want to go. We've been talking about the various forms of trauma, the manifestations of trauma, just living while black. 2020, not 1920, not 1856, 2020 in the United States of America. But we're not going to end on the statement of trauma. We want to end with solutions. Get what you want. How do we move forward as we not only navigate trauma to not allow it to be a suffocating, stifling, debilitating emotion, but how do we continue to move forward to make our lives successful in spite of, while we work toward transitioning to eliminate some of the root causes of the trauma that has been discussed today?
So that's really deep because that's exactly why during this whole pandemic, I wrote the book in the first place. For me, I wanted to find out what I really wanted. I needed to be able to tap into myself and really figure out, because it was just so much chaos everywhere. No matter what you were doing, you know, where you live, it was like the whole world shut down. And, you know, it's something that I've never heard of before and, of course, never experienced. So to be in that moment, I needed to sit still. And I felt like the steps that, you know, I took, the questions that I asked myself, the things that I looked within to find the traits that I needed to be able to really get what I want. Because, you know, a lot of times we don't really know what we want. We know what we don't want faster than knowing what we really want. And it's really hard for us to be able to articulate that and to be able to communicate that. But when it comes to manifesting anything, we have to be very careful on what we say and what we put out in the universe. So I took that time of, you know, being isolated from the world when everything shut down to tap in. And during that process, I was able to truly see, like, okay, having patience, you know, being optimistic, like we're saying, you know, finding solutions in the midst of all the chaos is not easy, but it's possible. And, you know, just being patient, not just with ourselves, but with others. Because, you know, just listening to everyone speak and everyone's story, everybody has their journey. You just never know where someone is. So just having that patience with other people, you know, not being judgmental and just being grateful that we are even here today to be able to speak in person. You know, so many people have lost their lives this year, and there's so many more who are still sick or whatever. So just having gratitude was another trait. So I listed about 15 different traits to have, that you should have to, you know, really tap into yourself, to really figure out what it is that you want, what it is that you want to manifest, what kind of life you desire. Yes. And with that, I mean, 2020, I can honestly say for myself, it went from being very depressing. I felt like I went through the dark night of the soul is pretty much where the book came from. Because I was trying to figure out, like, what is happening? Like, it was just so depressing. And it turned around dramatically. And I just hope and pray that it does that for others who, read it or, just take the time to just tap in, even if they don't read it. But knowing that, I think Mr. Rucker was saying that too, as far as us, we being an example and us being the ones that we figure out what it is that, we can give to the world, what it is that we can do individually, having that voice as he was speaking of. But that still goes back into, you got to be able to communicate that. You got to be able to communicate who you really are. But first, you got to realize who you are. Yes. So a lot of times we don't want to take that time to sit still and really tap in. But it's necessary because we all play a major part collectively. Individually, we have to be whole. We have to be healed individually. So it starts within. And again, like I said, a dark night of the soul for me was not easy. It's not an easy process for you to check yourself, and be like, oh, you need to fix this and you need to change that. But it's necessary because once we do that, then we can be a better person for society. We'll be able to give great energy and be able to give that good energy exchange with others, in the world. And so, yeah, I'm grateful to be here amongst you all and just hearing what everyone's saying. And like I said, just hear everybody's story because it all comes full circle. Like you said, we ending with exactly what everyone was, expressing. Yes. Everyone sharing what they went through during this time. And if you could just hear, it's so many different components to this. We have 2 pandemics going on, as we say. Honestly, for me, it feels like more than just 2. We have a lot of different things systematically, globally, energetically, spiritually, health-wise, just so much stuff going on, so many different pandemics going on at one time. But for some reason, I feel like, God had COVID to show us and shine a light on everything at one time. Because again, it's not just us here. I do business in partnerships with people all over the world, in Africa in particular. So when I noticed Africa was shutting down, I said, okay, yeah, America's shutting down next. It's really getting real. This is serious. This ain't play, right? And then, the UK shutting down, and then, my friends in Canada was shutting down. I'm like, woo-wee, I'm like, okay, so that's what I mean. So it's not just us, it's everybody is affected in some way. So, and again, being patient and being mindful of those things. But at the end of the day, I feel like the biggest trait out of all of 15, I would say, is gratitude. Right. So I would leave with gratitude because, a lot of us, that's one thing I think we take for granted. And we don't, put that out as much as we should. Being grateful for ourselves, being able to wake up in the morning, grateful for our family, our friends, good health, and grateful for just others and just going through this experience because, like we were already saying, this is going to be a small piece of history and we're living through it, so be grateful that you're able to live through this, you're able to experience this, but grow through it. Just don't go through it, you grow through it. So I want us all to be able to grow through whatever we're going through so that we become a better testament, a better person, energetically for the rest of the world.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, let me tell you, I am grateful for you and your contribution to this conversation today. I am grateful for all of our panelists. And just as you have shared growth through as you go through and reminded us that Lamont told us to find your voice and be sure to vote.
Use your voice.
Use your voice. Let's come back. And we're going to just go down the line. Let's start here with Pastor Anderson and just share with us in a sentence something that you want to leave everyone who has the opportunity to view this panel, a word, an expression that will help them move forward, not only to navigate the pandemic and the structural inequality that we live in, but to overcome and be a force for change, positive change. Not different just to be different, different to be better. What can we do? Pastor Anderson.
All righty, you said one sentence, so here it goes.
Try to keep it.
Instead of making excuses, learn how to make adjustments.
Okay. Mr. Webb.
Bless God, sir. Real simple. COVID, other pandemics, for us and everybody, it's a wound that leaves a scar. Let the scar remind you of victory, not bitterness.
Yes, indeed.
I would say become what you're trying to see in the world.
Come on, Miss Johnson. Become what you're trying to see. Mr. Dantrell Bonner.
Okay. First of all, I would say stay true to who you are, love yourself, and then love someone enough also to inspire them to do the same.
Thank you. Ms. Melanie Rubin.
I would say to remember that it's not how you start, but how you finish.
Okay, now. And Ms. Pat McAllister LaDuff.
Stay true to thyself, stay to course, and then make sure that if you're finding something that's not working for you, be powerful enough to change it.
Attorney Carter, I know you think because you're on the other side of Ms. Ashley that you're going to get away, but not today. We need your closing statement.
Rest if you must, but don't you ever, ever give up or quit.
Yes. Rest if you must, but never quit. I love it. You know, we all know that trauma is real, but we also know that we have hope. We have means. We have the ability not only to be resilient, because that says that you overcame the trauma, but we have the ability to be whole and to stand in a place where we can pull up someone else. Thank you again for sharing with us today about responding to trauma through spirituality, mental health, and well-being, how you have overcome the challenges that have come in your life, and how you will continue to move forward with words of encouragement to others. We thank you on behalf of Professor Nero, on behalf of BRCC, and on behalf of Mayor Sharon Weston Broome and the Office of the Mayor and the Recast Baton Rouge staff. Thank you.
Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies.
You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise.
Just like moons and suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise.
You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I rise.
Out from the huts of history's shame, I'll rise.
Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise.
I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide.
Leaving nights of terror and fear, I rise.
Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise.
Bringing the gifts my ancestors gave.
I am the dream and the hope of a slave.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
Wow, what an incredible day too. Now, please be sure to come back and join us for the last and final day of the conference, where we'll meet the Maya Angelou Essay Contest winners and receive greetings from her niece, Sabumi Woods.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us at today's virtual conference from wherever in the world you are. Don't miss out on the fantastic live Zoom breakout session that starts right about now at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Learn how to write for film and television and break into the entertainment industry. Feel free to take a break and join us in the Zoom room now as DJ Demp jams out with us for the first 30 minutes. If you registered already, make sure to check your email for the Zoom link and meeting ID. If you haven't registered already, don't worry, you still have time to join us. Go to our website at bswliteraryconference.com for access to the session. And for those of you that missed the conference altogether, you may find our link to Teachable, an awesome platform to relive this conference experience. Shout out to Dr. Maya Angelou, who we look forward to featuring and learning more about the writing contest when we're back together tomorrow. So hope to see each and every one of you soon.